Hey everyone, and welcome back to our Godot JRPG tutorial series. In the last episode, we built a branching dialogue system using story flags. In this episode, we're covering another mechanic, scene transitions. We'll set it up so you can walk into a house, dungeon, or whatever you desire, and it seamlessly loads a new scene, just like in some of the classics. Let's dive in. Well, first, let's show what we have going on. We have our dungeon scene and we have our town scene. We're going to use this to, when this opens, there'll be a trigger here that the player will walk through, and he will go from the town to the dungeon. So, real quick, in our town, let's go ahead and set up the area that's going to be transitioning from. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to put this on our dungeon gate and then remove it, but just so that it has the positional data. So I'm going to get an area 3D, and then I'm just going to take that off of it like so and just move it over here and then up just a smidge. On this area 3D, I'm gonna go ahead and rename it to town exit. No, I'm gonna name it, what do I name it? I'm gonna name it dungeon portal, because that's what it's gonna do. I'm gonna right click and add a collision shape 3D. And in this collision shape, we're going to get a box 3D shape. And from here, we're just going to extend this out a little bit. That way we can make sure that the player does not miss it. Something about like that should be good. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a script. So click on the button here, make sure you're selected on Dungeon Portal. Navigate to your scripts folder, to the systems folder, and we're gonna just name this scene portal. And press open, then press create. Inside of this script, we're gonna do a few things. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna have a few public variables. First is going to be the target scene, which is going to be a string, because we're actually going to pass the pathway to the dungeon tile. While I'm looking at that, we should actually make our town. So right click on town and make it set it as your main scene. So right click, set as main scene, which should be the third one. Mine says instantiate because I already did it. Alright, we're gonna need a player spawn point. I forgot to type in export after the @ sign. In our ready function, let's get rid of pass. And actually, first, let's go ahead and create the function we're going to need. It's going to be an onBody entered function, and we're going to pass a body, and if the name of that body is equal to player, then And then the scene. We haven't created it yet, but we're going to put in a scene transition manager. It's going to have a function that's going to be called change scene. And it's going to pass some data for that scene. And then up here in our ready function, we're going to say body enter dot connect, and we're going to connect to that on body entered function. Just like that. There we go. Alright, go ahead and save that for now. This setup is going to define where we're going and where the player should spawn at. Which reminds me, we should probably go to our dungeon and click on your player. We're going to do the same thing we did with this dungeon portal. We're going to right click, add a child node on the player, and we're going to look for this time for a marker 3D. Then that way it already has the player data. We can just drag that out off of it and then rename it to player spawn, because it's going to be looking for the name player spawn. Alright, there's that. Go ahead and Control S to save your work. And let's create our scene transition manager. So in our systems right here, we're going to right click. We're going to create a new script, and this is going to be called scene transition manager. Go ahead and press create. Double click to open that up. And we're going to type a few things. Now, how do I want to do this? For now, I think we're going to do it like this. I'm going to have a private variable called spawn point name. Pass a string. And then we're going to have a function called change scene that we're going to create. And this is going to be that scene data dictionary. So, and inside of here, I pass spawn point name equal to our scene data dot get spawn point. Somewhere I press the insert button by accident. And we're gonna get the tree and change scene to file to be the scene data target scene. So it's going to be looking for all the stuff that we had back there in our scene portal. All this stuff right here. String is right because I forgot an equal sign after it. In our ready function, we're going to go ahead and set up some variables. blank for right now. So if they're not null, variables spawn. Current scene get node or no spawn point. Spawn point name. And then what else? Why is that red? Oh, there we go. And then one more line. If it spawns, then player dot global transform dot origin is going to be equal to spawn dot global underscore transform dot origin. Alright. This is storing the spawn point name across the scenes, and it's going to reposition the player after it loads. We're going to change it a little bit. I don't believe that we're going to probably do some fading out, but let's go ahead and test this out to make sure this works first. Oh, and it's broken. Why is it broken? Because we did not, you know what, I forgot. We need to come up here, project settings, go into our globals, and we need to add our scene transition manager to our globals. And then there we go, close. And that should work now. There we go. Alright. So let's talk to the mayor. Alright. The forest is waiting. I need to fix that. I already know what's causing it. Alright, so there we go. Alright, so it transitions us here, and then camera's attached and everything's we're good. So alright. Now that that's working, let me go fix that one thing in town, because that's going to irritate me. I believe it's this one right here. For some reason, the collision shape is blocking me. So let's just move this down a bit, like so. And we'll give it a little test. I should be able to run over it without T blocking. There we go. Alright. And I'm blocked by the gate, so I can't get to the trigger. Perfect. Alright. So we're going to add a fade in, fade out. We can use our dialogue, because our dialogue UI is going to be in each of these towns and dungeons, because you're going to need that to pop up for like if you pick up an item and stuff like that, right? So what we're going to do at that point then is on our dialogue UI, let's add a child node, and this is going to be a color rect, and we're going to go ahead and set the anchor position to fill the whole screen. It's going to turn it to white, or not white, from white to black, like so. Our visibility, leave that on, but we're going to set the alpha to 0, and under modulate, that way when we code it, then it will work. So Let's see. Next thing we're going to need to do is, what do we need to do? In our dialogue UI script, actually, why don't I have that on there? I should probably put it on there because I think it's already on the town. Right there. So let's go ahead and add that on there. Let's see. Scripts, dialog UI, open, and load. That way it's already on there. We won't have to keep adding it each time. We're gonna need to create some functions. So function, function first is gonna be fade to black. Our visibility is already set to true, but just in case there's, you know what? Let's name this real quick. This is gonna be our fade overlay, and we're gonna need to drag this out. So just to make sure, in case anybody in your game you accidentally set it to false for some reason, then you have that. And then take this, dot modulate. We're gonna pass the alpha, and it's gonna be 0. And then we're gonna say fade overlay dot create tween property, and it's going to be, what is it going to be? We're going to pass the fade overlay, and then modulate alpha, and it's going to be 1.0, and we're going to do this over half a second. So we're going to tell it to that for fade to black start at 0. We're telling it to go to create a transition to go from 0 to 1, and we want it to take half a second, and it's only affecting the alpha. And so what we're going to do with this one right here is we're going to copy it and paste it in. We're going to say fade from black, and this time we're going to say the alpha is going to start at 1, and you're going to go to 0 over half a second. Alright, so now we need to plug this in, so let's Control S to save our work so far, and go to our scene transition. And in here we're going to make a few changes. So first thing we're going to do is, let's see, let's go ahead and go with variable UI. We need to create actually a current scene. And then we're going to go ahead and go to variable UI. It's going to be equal to current scene dot get node or null. looking for. And then if our UI dot fade to black, and we're gonna make it callable to itself. Let's see. Otherwise, what you're gonna do is alright, so we have all that there, right? And what we're gonna end up doing is now we need to create that function because we're gonna make, like I said, some changes. So on fade complete dictionary. And what we're actually do is we're going to take this right here and paste it here. So the first thing it's going to handle when it's changing the scene, which is what we want, is we want to change the transition first, then load the scene. And in our ready function, we're going to add variable UI equals get tree get current scene. And hopefully this all works because we're already over 20 minutes. So this, in theory, should work. But let's see. We'll test it out and see. Make sure that dialog UI is in there. Cool. Alright. Let's see how this goes. So it faded in already, which is nice. And let's go see. And it broke. Why did it break? Invalid function fade call to black and base canvas layer expected is 0 arguments. You know why? Because I put an argument in there, and in our dialog UI, let's go to our UI script. I did not. So this needs to be callback, callable, and then we're gonna go void. Let's see. And that means we're gonna need to change this up too. So variable tween equals create tween, and we're gonna come over here and say tween dot property tween property, and then here tween callback And then we're just gonna say here variable tween equals create tween, and then here this is gonna be tween. All right, now let's test it out and see what happens. And there we are. So that's what we got there. We got in this video, we did a few things. We created a scene transition, created a new global variable or global script, and got a nice little fade going. Apologize, this video is going on 25 minutes now, but in the next episode, is going to start a new chapter, and we're going to start finally working on our battle systems, transitioning into combat scenes, building our turn structures, and getting our first real taste of the combat mechanics. If you found this helpful, go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, or leave a comment on what scene types you'd love to add next. See you soon.